Good day, everyone. Mr. Cabilans and I were assigned for the topic Pragmatics Language Use. Here is the first part of our report. What is pragmatics? Pragmatics is a branch of linguistics concerned with the use of language in social contexts and the ways people produce and comprehend meanings through language. The term pragmatics was coined in the 1930s by psychologist and philosopher Charles Morris. Pragmatics examines how the meaning of a sentence can be shaped or built upon by factors beyond the words themselves. Factors such as the situation where the sentence is used, the social rules in that place at the time, and the assumed attitude of the person using the sentence. Pragmatics means action in Greek, hence, its subject is the language in use. In philosophy and psychology, this term is used to refer to action or the practice. Linguistic pragmatics is a language that is studied as a means of use within itself, not for itself. One example of pragmatics in language would be if one person asked, "What do you want to eat?" and another responded, "Ice cream is good this time of year." The second person did not explicitly say that they wanted to what they wanted to eat, but their statement implies that they want to eat ice cream. Strictly speaking, words themselves are meaningless, but that is, they have no intrinsic meaning. However, they refer to things that do, the ideas and concepts in our minds. We have two subgroups of pragmatics. First is the pragmalinguistics and the second is the socio-pragmatics. What is pragmalinguistics? Pragmalinguistic, the knowledge of these strategies for realizing speech intentions and the linguistic items used to express these intentions. The form of pragmalinguistics is formed according to the requirements of the structural system of the language, but it is possible to distinguish between additional values depending on the circumstances of the relationship. Pragmalinguistics is typically concerns the study of the particular resources that a given language provides for conveying pragmatic meaning. For example, this room was light, yes? There are a number of things to consider. First, the speaker has never been in this room. Second, that the other rooms are darker and dingy. Third, the speaker wants to make a positive impact on the house owner. And fourth, the speaker takes an interest in the opinion of the house owner. What is socio-pragmatics? Socio-pragmatics refers to the social use of language. It is the way conditions of language use derive from the social norms and situations. In other words, it involves the study of both the forms and functions of language in the given social setting. As an aspect of social-linguistic competence, social-pragmatic competence borders on the ability to use language appropriately and politely to convey messages while observing the social and cultural conventions guiding such as in a particular speech community. The beginning of pragmatic studies brought a controversy as regards its overlap with such areas as social linguistics, psycholinguistics, pragmalinguistics, and others. Pragmatics, therefore, cannot be easily distinguished from societal factors. It goes hand in hand with social linguistics. Social pragmatics becomes, therefore, the common level for the study of social linguistics and pragmatics, which is aimed at helping the learner of a language to understand how language use is realized in the social life of a speech community and presents learners with what variety of language is and how usage differences are realized in different contexts. For instance, in the Nigerian social setting, Aditug points out it would be considered rude for me to address my father's peer as "Dear Mr. Oni," the letter. In native English usage, this is appropriate. The best I can do in the Nigerian situation is to write, "Dear Sir," considered inappropriate in the native English use, or better still, "Dear Father," which gives to a native reader a completely different picture of my relationship with the person being addressed. Native English users studiously avoid the use of imperatives when making requests and resort to the indirect statements because the use of imperative has come to be regarded as either impolite or condescending. In the Nigerian situation, however, this is the form used with politeness shown by the adjuncts please and kindly. The purpose of socio-pragmatics. It encapsulates the knowledge of the conventions of communication in a society, the linguistic structures and the social-linguistic factors that account for the structuring and the abilities that enable learners to communicate successfully in the second language. As an aspect of social-linguistic competence, it also addresses the issue of appropriateness, which is how utterances are produced and understood appropriately in different social-linguistic contexts. According to Canale, appropriateness of utterances refers to both appropriateness of meaning and appropriateness of form. Appropriateness of meaning deals with the extent to which particular communicative functions, example, commanding or apologizing, are judged to be proper in a given situation. For instance, a waiter in a restaurant is not expected to command a customer to order a certain item on the menu even if he uses well-formed sentences. There are three theories of pragmatics. First, the politeness theory, which would be discussed by me, and the speech acts and conventional implicature would be discussed by Mr. Kabilins. What is this politeness theory? Well, politeness theory, developed by Penelope Brown and Stephen Levinson, is centered on the idea of appealing to a person's positive or negative face by being polite. Politeness theory in interpersonal communication focuses on maintaining social balance through positive and negative politeness strategies, considering social distance, power dynamics, and coercion levels in speech acts. Politeness theory works on the assumption that we have two different types of face, the positive face and the negative face. Positive face is an individual's desire to be liked and appreciated by others. Think of this as a person's self-esteem. While the negative face is an individual's desire to protect their personal rights, such as their freedom of speech and action. When we are polite to people, we are appealing to one of these two types. The positive politeness, appealing to a person's positive face, can mean making the individual feel good about themselves. Positive face or the positive politeness. Brown and Levinson suggest that when we are rude to people or impede their personal freedoms, we commit face-threatening acts. These are directed at the person we are talking to. When we admit and apologize for our shortcomings, we commit face-threatening acts which are directed to ourselves. They also suggest that cooperation is needed between speakers during social interaction. This is to maintain the face of both your own and of the person you are speaking to. Brown and Levinson defined positive faces as an individual's desire to be liked, admired, ratified, and related to positively. Maintaining a positive face means maintaining and exhibiting a positive self-image to the rest of society. When we are appealing to someone's positive face, we want to increase their self-esteem and make them feel good about themselves. For example, we might compliment someone's outfit, congratulate someone on their achievements, or agree with something they say. When we wish to protect someone's positive face, we avoid criticisms, insults, and disagreements. Let's look at ways of appealing to someone's positive face. For example, "You always wear such lovely clothes. I'd love to borrow something one day." Here, the speaker makes the listener feel good about themselves by complimenting them and confirming their choice of clothes. "This piece of work is really fantastic. Well done." Here, the speaker is congratulating the listener on their work and recognizing their achievements. The speaker can also protect his or her positive face. We do this by concealing actions that may be damaging to our self-image. In the world of sociology, this is referred to as saving face. Saving face is a strategy for avoiding humiliation or embarrassment, maintaining dignity, or preserving one's reputation. Negative face or negative politeness. The concept of negative face is a little trickier to grasp. Brown and Levinson define negative face as an individual's desire not to have their basic rights and freedoms impeded by others. Whereas positive face involves a desire to be connected to others, negative face desires autonomy or a person's ability to act on their own interests. When we appeal to a person's negative face, we want to make them feel like they haven't been taken advantage of. For example, "I know it's a real pain and I hope you don't mind, but could you please print this off for me?" Here, the speaker has appealed to the listener's negative face by using what Brown and Levinson call negative politeness. Here, the speaker has used negative politeness strategies like hedging and indirectness to avoid feelings of imposition on the listener. What are face-threatening acts? These are acts that when communicating or communication can damage a person's sense of face or affect the needs and desires of someone's positive or negative face. Face-threatening acts can be verbal, using words or language, paraverbal, conveyed in the characteristics of speech such as tone or inflection, or nonverbal, facial expressions or body language. According to Brown and Levinson, face-threatening acts may threaten either the speaker's or the listener's face, either positive or negative. Positive face-threatening acts damaging to the listener. Acts that threaten the listener's positive face and self-image include expressions of disapproval, accusations, criticism, and disagreements. Face-threatening acts can also be expressions that show that the speaker does not care about the listener's positive face. For example, mentioning taboo or emotional topics, interruptions, and expressions of violent emotions. Okay, so let's take a look at some of face-threatening acts with the positive face. "I don't like that outfit at all. You ate all my cheese, didn't you? I'm definitely better at maths than you. Didn't your last partner cheat on you all the time?" Okay. Positive face-threatening acts are damaging to the speaker. Acts that threaten the speaker's positive face and self-image include apologies, an acceptance of being wrong, confessions, and a loss of emotional control. For example, "I'm all over the place right now and haven't done any housework in weeks." Negative face-threatening acts are damaging to the listener. Acts that threaten the listener's negative face and restrict their personal freedoms include utterances that pressure the listener into doing something in the future, such as giving an order, making a request, giving a reminder, or making a threat. Alternatively, face-threatening acts can involve the speaker expressing a strong emotion towards the listener that typically requires some form of positive reaction. For example, paying a compliment and expecting a compliment in return. Let's take a look at some face-threatening acts that threaten the listener's negative face. I really like you. In some situations, this would be lovely to hear. However, imagine you don't really like the person, but now feel obliged to say something nice in return. Pick that up for me. If you don't apologize, I won't speak to you again. Negative face threatening acts damaging to the speaker. Acts that threaten the speaker's negative face and impede on their personal freedoms include speech acts wherein they feel obliged to perform, such as apologies, excuses, acceptance of compliments, or gratitude. Example: thanks, I like your outfit too. According to Brown and Levinson, there are four main strategies we can use to limit the threat to the listener's face when we face threatening acts are inevitable. We usually use these strategies to avoid embarrassing someone or making them feel uncomfortable. Brown and Levinson proposed four politeness strategies: bold on record, positive politeness, negative politeness, and off record or the indirect. Bold on record. The bold on record strategy does not attempt to limit the threat to the listener's face. We usually use this strategy when there is a sense of urgency, if we know the listener well, or if there is a low risk of threat to the listener's face. When we use this strategy, we get straight to the point and do not use any additional language to help soften our message. Example: watch out, sense of urgency. Your headlights are on, in the interest of the listener, or eat up. This command would likely be face threatening if the speaker and listener did not know each other. However, if the speaker and listener know each other well, this would be deemed acceptable. The positive of this strategy include getting recognition for being honest, avoiding confusion by not using unnecessary languages, and putting public pressure on the listener when needed. Positive politeness. Positive politeness strategies aim to reduce the threat to the listener's positive face. Positive politeness strategies include finding common ground, juxtaposing criticism with compliments, telling jokes, and using statements of friendship. Think about nicknames, slang, or insider jokes that only you and your friend use. These strategies make the listener feel good about themselves and avoid conflict or offense by emphasizing friendliness and politeness. Example: hey mate, can I borrow a fiver? Using friendly language. I love your shoes, and your hair looks great. I'm not sure about the top though. Just opposing a criticism with compliments. Oh, you played this word wrong. Don't worry, I spell things wrong all the time. Finding common ground. The positive of this strategy include an increased sense of solidarity between the speaker and the listener, and the decrease of social distance. Negative politeness. Negative politeness strategies are aimed at the listener's negative face and are meant to avoid any imposition on the listener. We use negative politeness strategies when we presume that our speech will impose on the listener in some way and wish to avoid feelings of awkwardness or embarrassment. Such strategies include hedging, or a word or phrase that makes a statement less forceful or assertive, minimizing the imposition, apologizing, being indirect, and using questions rather than commands. For example, I don't suppose you know where the toilets are, do you? Being indirect and hedging. Could you print this off for me? It's only a few pages and won't take long. Minimizing the imposition. I'm so sorry, but could you help me? being apologetic. Off record or indirect. Brown and Levinson final polite strategy is the off record or indirect strategy. This strategy involves some serious indirectness. The speaker typically avoids saying the potentially face-threatening act altogether. Instead, the speaker's intentions are implied, and it is up to the listener to interpret them. In this situation, the speaker can get credit for not imposing on the listener, and the listener is given a chance to present themselves as helpful or generous. However, this strategy relies heavily on pragmatics to convey the intended meaning. For example, speaker, is there a free chair over there? The listener, yes, here you go. They give the speaker a chair. Speaker, I have a headache. Listener, oh dear, here, take some of my painkillers. In both situations, the speaker never actually asks for anything, and therefore, the imposition on the listener is reduced. The positives of this strategy include getting credit for being tactful and avoiding responsibility for a potentially face-threatening act. That would be all for my report. Thank you and good day.